great. What do you want to do next? It's like, let's not revel in this.
Yeah.
But they took it as like, this guy just like doesn't even understand what we're doing. But I had no idea until I saw the film.
That's funny.
Like, whoa, that was the reaction.
Yeah. But I think your response is the right risk to take, right? Because it's the celebration at the end of you want to keep like people celebrate too early.
Yes, great. And now let's use that momentum. We're in the zone.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah. But you yourself in conversation. So you said that you want to create would you use the word intimacy? Like, is it to create, or just the most real? Like, there's no cameras, there's no mics.
I would say a place where you're comfortable to be naked. You know, a place where you can be your most vulnerable without questioning it. You want to really be able to let your guard down, and to, you know, if you want to start crying when you're singing, whatever it is. And it's hard to get to that place. And again, just the idea of someone, you know, like, hey, that was good. That could take you right out of that going in.
It's so interesting to think about how to achieve that and still have mics.
Yeah.
That,
it's hard. It's harder.
Some of it is space. Some of it is raw conversational skill. Like, there's something about some of that is also just like, you have that, as I'm sure you are, there's a legend to Rick Rubin. And there's like my now friend Joe Rogan, there's a legend to him. And when you show up into Joe Rogan's studio, the legend creates an aura. And he, I think, subconsciously or consciously uses it to like, this is somehow it's nervous. And then you realize, oh, he's just human or something. I don't, there's a relief. And then, yeah, you could be yourself. So that's that nervousness. And it's like, oh, it's not that, this legend is just a human, and it's normal. So I don't know how that's done. But it's so interesting to think about how that's, because I forget recording. I just enjoy it when it's real. Like, this microphone gives us an excuse to connect on a human level and forget, and nobody's listening. It doesn't matter.
I would say I felt maybe in the last 15 minutes, I was less aware of anybody else being in the room or any equipment here.
Yeah.
But it took that long.
That's so interesting. I didn't have that at all. All I had, I mean, the wind calmed down outside, but there was a wind before. And there's something about the wind. Now, you can think of it from an audio engineering perspective. Like, oh, I wonder if the wind creates sound or whatever that you hear. But I was thinking, like, none of this matters. Like, the wind is like, nature will be here before us, after us, and all of this will be dead and forgotten. Yeah. That's what the wind was reminding me of. It's almost like laughing at the fact that we would even consider ourselves important enough to put on clothes and talk. But you love it. You love talking. You love the podcast and just that. Why did you dive into that? Like, why?
It was a strange occurrence. My friend Malcolm said he wanted to start doing a podcast about music and asked if I would do it with him. It's like, I like Malcolm, and I thought it would be more like his podcast, which it's not an interview podcast. I thought it was going to be telling stories in the music world using, audio stories. And then it just started being interviews. Not again, it wasn't intentional, just started that way and ended up being that. So, but I love it. And I love, both because I get to talk to people that I don't know, but also when I get to talk to people that I know and ask them about things that we would never talk about ever. Mm-hmm. I don't know the origin stories of any of the people, any of my friends. So to get to hear their perspective, another, like, relating to the Chili Peppers, because their album's coming out now, I interviewed all four members of the band individually. John, I interviewed John, and midway through Anthony came in, and then I interviewed Flea separately, and I interviewed Chad separately. And it was fascinating. I know them for 30 years, and I learned a tremendous amount because we don't don't ask people about themselves when you're just, workmates or friends.
I do this sometimes. I'll just set up my microphones and I'll record a thing for private consumption with friends or loved ones.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Good idea.
Because you get to ask, those ridiculous questions. First of all, about life, about the future, about the past, about little fears and the things you miss. And there's something people just reveal, first loves, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Your view on love, your view on, and those are things don't come up in regular conversation. So it's so nice to, that's something about, see, that's the pushback. There's something about this microphone, or maybe it's just the deliberate nature of sitting down and let's just talk. There is something about the microphone that, for me, thinks, just same with the suit, I'm going to take this moment seriously. I've long forgotten that anyone is listening. And I'm going to try to really listen to another human, first of all, and to also ask the questions that are really interesting. I feel like when I talk to normal people out on the street, I'm not allowed to ask anything. I'm allowed to ask only the more sort of generic things.
I think you can ask anything.
I'm starting to think that.
I think you're allowed to ask anything.
I think you're allowed to basically do anything, especially in Texas.
Yeah, I think it's okay to ask people, and I think people like it when you ask them. People like to be seen and like to show who they are.
As the wind blows again, do you have advice for young people? You have a fascinating life journey. Is there advice you can give to people in high school and college about how to have a life like yours in whatever pursuit? In terms of success is such a silly word, but just find success or maybe happiness in career or just in life in general.
Yeah, the only advice I would have would be to not listen to anyone and to do what you love and to make things that you love, whatever it is. Make your favorite things. You be the audience. Make the thing for you the audience. And it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. And if you have to get a job to support yourself so that you can make your art, that's fine. You can't make art for someone else. You can't make art with someone else in mind. I don't believe it can be good.
So what does success feel like? Are you grateful? Are you proud of the work you've done in the past? Or is there some engine of constant dissatisfaction, like self-criticism of I could have done better?
No, I'm pleased with the work that we did. Excited to keep working. It's fun. I don't know what else I would do with myself because I like making things. It's fun. I feel like it's my reason to be on the planet. So I just keep doing it.
Whatever ideas are actually coming from elsewhere and are using your mind as a temporary vehicle, that's their purpose to be on this planet. Your purpose is to procreate and not die and eat regularly enough such that the brain is alive. It's a biological purpose.
Yeah, and anything I can do to keep the channel open to allow what wants to come through. I'm a willing channel.
It's so interesting because I'm extremely self-critical. So you don't have that self-criticism, harsh, like this could have been better.
If it could have been better, I would keep working on it. It's like if it could be better, it's not done.
So when it's done, it's done.
It's the best it can be. I've done everything I can to make it the best it can be. And that's all. I can't do more than that. So there's nothing to be critical of. I did my if you always give all of yourself and do your best, which you're capable of doing, I'm not suggesting that you're capable of doing more than you can do, but whatever it is that you can do, if you've given all of yourself to it, you've done your best. Where could there be regret?
Yeah. I mean, there could be, you re-listen to an album, you listen to, or anything you've created and think, oh, there's so many interesting ideas missed.
It's fine though, but that was that moment. It's like everything is like it's almost like a diary entry. Everything we make is a reflection of a moment in time, a window in time. Could be a day, it could be a year, it could be it could be whatever window you decide that it is. But if you give it all of yourself, and if you're not interested in working on it anymore, it's done. Mm. Now you may decide it's not good enough to share with people, and that's fine. But if it's good enough to share with people, there's no regret looking back.
That's funny because, think of it as a diary entry. It's hard to look back at a diary entry and say,
I did it wrong. It's impossible.
Yeah, and even if it's read by 100 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, it's just a diary entry.
Doesn't matter.
Speaking of doesn't matter, this life is finite. All of us, even Rick Rubin, will be forgotten one day. Do you think about your mortality tomorrow? Yes. Do you think about the finiteness of this thing? Do you think about mortality, about your mortality? Does it make any sense to you? Do you think about death? Are you afraid of death?
I don't think about it. I don't think about it very much.
Are you afraid?
I don't think I'm afraid. I mean, I don't want to die, but I know that that's in the cards, and when it happens, it happens.
Your nature of not wanting to die is kind of like you don't want to go to a shitty restaurant. You'd like to go to a nicer one. So it's just a preference thing.
Well, I want to keep living because I want to do what I like to do. So whatever, now who knows, whatever comes next, maybe even better. Maybe we're, I don't know. Yeah. I haven't experienced it yet. So who knows?
What do you think happens after we die?
I believe we go on in some capacity. I don't know what that means, but in the same way that everything recycles, everything comes around. I don't know why we would be different.
In some way.
I don't know what that way is. And I don't know that it's in the same being, or in the same grouping of information, whatever that is. But the thing that makes us, that information, I imagine, goes on.
Yes, it does seem like our world here, at least on Earth, has like a memory. And just like history, it kind of rhymes. It brings back creations of the past and riffs on them, improvises on top of them. And that in that way, humanity propagates.
I mean, you see it with garbage. You see the mountains of garbage. Yeah. It's like it doesn't really go anywhere. Even when it breaks up, it disintegrates, but it's never really gone. Same.
Is there anything in this world you're afraid of?
A lot of things.
But not death.
I mean,
why?
I don't know.
What are you afraid
of? Death is more of a question mark. Again, I'm not, I'm not in any
to be answered.
Yeah. I'm not in any hurry for that to happen.
Yeah.
But it will happen. And when it does, we get to experience what that is.
Well, then the big question mark, what's the meaning of this whole thing? What's the meaning of life? Rick Rubin.
Putting my name on it makes it harder to answer.
It's just a diary entry, like we said.
It's true. And you will get a different answer tomorrow. Let's see. What's the meaning of life today?
Later today. It could be, so for people who don't know, we were maybe thinking of maybe meeting in Austin, have some barbecue, and now we're in the middle of nowhere in beautiful West Texas. And this is basically a glorified delivery of barbecue of my favorite barbecue, maybe one of your top favorite barbecues, to one of my favorite humans. So we get to eat some barbecue today. Maybe that's the meaning. Do you have something bigger than barbecue?
Barbecue's pretty big. Barbecue's pretty good.
Where's your love for barbecue come from, by the way?
I was a vegan for 20 something years. Yes. And once I found my way back into eating meat, I think barbecue is my favorite of any of the things that I didn't eat for so long.
I have to ask you, I almost forgot. So there's an SNL skit with Will Ferrell that he wrote about Don't Fear the Reaper, where Bruce Dickinson is the producer. I always think about you when I see that skit. I don't know why. People should definitely watch it. And he demands more cowbell into the mix. And the whole band, this is how I imagine people interact with you. The whole band is really impressed. Like, we get to work with the great Bruce Dickinson. And then it's played by Christopher Walken, and he says, like, fellas, I put on my pants one leg at a time, just like the rest of you. But once my pants are on, I make gold records. And I just, and then the whole skit continues, and he wants to add more and more cowbell. And Will Ferrell said he wrote that skit because he always heard the song "Don't Fear the Reaper," and there's a distant cowbell. It's very light in the mix, and he's like, I wonder what the story of that cowbell is. Like, if we just look at that one layer, who's that guy that was in there? So is that basically exactly how your life is? Is Bruce Dickinson from the cowbell? I don't know if you've seen that skit.
I don't think it's like that.
It's not? Okay. All right. I'm just going to pretend then. Rick, this is a huge honor that you sit with me. I mean, what can I say about how incredible of a human you are? You truly are out of this world. And thank you so much for talking today.
I'm a great fan. I'm so happy that you agreed to do this with me.